Hello, this is Jim from Hanson's Phil-Am Life. I've had several people ask me about the difference between an inverter and a non-inverter AC, Aircon. So today I want to explain to you what the differences are, which one's more expensive, which one's more energy efficient, and all the other things. So let's get after it. So here we go. Inverter versus non-inverter. Both the systems excel in terms of performance and offer similar functions when it comes to cooling, but they differ in the type of compressor motor they use. Let's take a look at the two and understand the differences between them. So what is an inverter air conditioner? The speed of the compressor motor in an inverter unit is directly proportional to the frequency of the power supply. It uses a variable frequency sensor to control the speed of the motor, which in fact regulates the refrigerant flow inside the unit to provide just the right amount of cooling or heating as needed. This eliminates the frequent stop and start cycles, thereby increasing the energy efficiency of the unit in the long run. The non-inverter units work on an all or none principle, meaning the compressor automatically goes on and off rather than running at full speed all the time. The compressor automatically switches off when the desired temperature is reached and starts again when the temperature increases, thereby consuming more electricity at times, making them less energy efficient than their inverter counterparts. An inverter is a device to change a type of current from AC to DC, or vice versa. In terms of an air conditioning unit, an inverter is used to control the power supply frequency of the compressor motor to adjust the cooling up or down. Inverter air conditioner usually contains a variable speed compressor that regulates the temperature to provide just the right amount of cooling and heating as needed. A non-inverter, on the other hand, has a fixed speed compressor which works on an all or none principle, meaning it switches on and off when required. Inverter air conditioner adjusts the speed of the compressor to control the flow of the refrigerant in order to regulate the conditioned space temperature as required. When the unit is switched on, the compressor inside the unit runs at full speed. It goes all the time. The compressor is running all the time. This ensures precise cooling or heating, well, around here would not be heating, as required. A non-inverter air conditioner delivers a fixed amount of power based on the room temperature. This makes the compressor go off when the temperature is reached and start again when the temperature increases. So the main difference between the inverter and non-inverter air conditioner is the way they operate around room temperature. The cooling is an automated process in an inverter air conditioner unit, as the sensor inside the unit adjusts the power supply according to the room temperature, which automatically reduces electric consumption, thereby making it more efficient than its non-inverter counterpart. A non-inverter unit goes off and off anytime to keep the temperature within a certain threshold limit around the room temperature, making it less eco-friendly. It starts up to cool it down, and it goes off. And as the temperature naturally rises, it turns back on and goes down. So in summary, the bottom line is that the non-inverter air conditioning units might be a little less expensive when compared to the inverter air conditioning units, but they're less reliable and more expensive to maintain and manage. Inverter units are the latest in air conditioning technology that use inverters to control the speed of the compressor, thereby eliminating frequent on-off cycles, which decreases the efficiency. It therefore decreases the lifespan of the components of a non-inverter AC and increases the efficiency and the lifespan of the components of an inverter AC unit. While the initial cost may get a little higher against the non-inverter units, the higher expense is an offset against energy consumption, which makes them the most preferred choice of air conditioning units, the inverter type. The compressor efficiency used in inverter and non-inverter ACs is different, as we talked about. The main difference between both the air conditioning is their compressor motor and the way it functions. In non-inverter, split AC only limited to an on-off. They would probably be an older split unit. All it can do is run a specified speed until the room reaches a satisfactory temperature, and then it shuts down. Once the room temperature reaches the normal point, the compressor restarts and resumes its function once again. There's no possible way to control the compressor of a non-inverter split AC, hence it will work either in its full capacity or it will not run at all. However, the inverter air conditioner, the compressor runs at the variable speed depending on if it needs to cool more or not. They work in a way that they can work at a lower speed once the desired temperature has been reached and increase the speed when the room temperature becomes normal again. And when it increases, it uses more power. When it decreases, it uses less power. So the air conditioning you choose impacts a lot on your electric consumption. Most people think that since the compressor in a non-inverter air conditioner works on and off, whereas the inverter AC runs continuous, the latter has more energy consumption. The inverter AC, they think, has more energy consumption, and it's not true. In reality, in which way the non-inverter and air conditioners function cause unnecessary and excessive energy consumption, and this would have a noticeable impact on your utility bill. So the inverter ones will have a lower electric cost to you every month. The compressors used in normal ACs require a large amount of energy to restart again once the temperature of your room falls back to its normal hot temperature. Get that big surge, which is in a non-inverter one, that big surge makes a loud noise. Also the same thing when it drops off. That's has to do with the magnetic fields increasing or starting up or decreasing. So the performance level of the air conditioning units is something you need to consider. And the inverter air conditioners are more versatile and flexible as compared to the non-inverter air conditioners because of that controlled compressor system. Even though both the AC types do well in terms of cooling, the versatility usually works in the favor of inverter ACs. One more factor which impacts the performance level of these AC units is the noise unit. As compared to the inverter ACs, the outdoor units of non-inverter air conditioning units make more noise. That stop and start noise. Cost. When we talk about investing in an air conditioner, though, inverter ACs are usually more expensive initially as compared to the non-inverter ones. This cost cutting is due to the difference of energy efficient compressor and advanced sensors. The inverter ACs are going to be more energy efficient, and over the long run the cost will be lower. Non-inverter will be more expensive over the long run because the electric rate power used will be higher over time. One thing that adds up in the favor of the inverter air conditioners is that even though they are more costly, they tend to reduce your power consumption and subsequently help you in saving money on utility bills. It's also important to mention that even though the non-inverter ACs are relatively cheaper, the maintenance costs are going to be higher. That's the costs charged by the air conditioning technicians for doing preventive maintenance and for repairs. Costs that are going to be charged by the AC technicians are going to be higher for the non-inverter because of the wear and tear from starting, stopping. So you can conveniently say that the costs involved in an inverter unit is considerably a long-term investment, as it is a more versatile and advanced machine as compared to a non-inverter air conditioning unit. Mind that if you plan on running your AC for more than 5 hours every day, buying an inverter air conditioning unit would be better for your monthly utility expenses and reducing costs. However, if you only have to use the air conditioner for 3 to 4 hours every day, that too for only a few months of the year, getting a non-inverter AC installed would be fine. Let's take a situation where the room temperature reaches to a 40 degrees Celsius. You feel hotter inside, and the switch on your inverter AC setting you set to 20 degrees Celsius. The compressor runs at full speed at a higher room temperature and adjusts the speed once the temperature starts to drop, and then the temperature reaches 20 degrees Celsius. The compressor runs at low speed to maintain a constant temperature. Okay, take for instance if we need to set the non-inverter AC to 25 degrees Celsius and the room temperature is 35 degrees, then the compressor motor runs at full speed to make it drop down to the 25 degrees Celsius. Once the room temperature reaches 25, the motor stops and again starts to run at full speed if the temperature begins to rise. Okay, now I want to give you 5 reasons why the inverter AC is better than the non-inverter AC unit. Power consumption is less and it's more eco-friendly. Now, the inverter unit is going to save you 30 to 40% of electricity over a non-inverter AC, which consumes additional power to start the compressor. Inverter unit is quieter than the non-inverter AC. Inverter unit has a longer life because with the inverter technology, the compressor motor doesn't always stop and start. It has a greater lifespan and lasts longer. So the inverter AC saves money in the long-term usage. Now the inverter AC unit has the latest technology. This is the 5th reason. The first one was power consumption. Second was quieter. Third one, longer life. And the 4th one saves money in the long term. So the latest technology in some of these AC units is 4D airflow. Well, first of all, I should say that when you get yourself an inverter AC, most Korean and Japanese manufacturers stop producing non-inverter air conditioning units and bring up lots of cool technologies like 4D airflow, smart humidity control, intelligent filter, auto clean, smart stabilizer, refrigerant leak display, and those all come with an inverter AC. Now, the 4D airflow works well if you have more people in the room. The 4-dimensional airflow feature makes the cool air from the air conditioning spread evenly throughout the room, so it sweeps right to left and up and down. They have another feature that's called Smart Humidity Control. It's a good feature to have when you're close to water or in a time, yes, like we are here in Dumaguete along the coast. If the AC cools down but it doesn't reduce the amount of humidity, it's going to seem warmer. So you want the AC to reduce the amount of humidity so that it seems cooler. And that's what the smart humidity control does. Some units have an intelligent air filter, which is good for cities that have high pollution. It's also good for reducing the amount of germs and viruses in the air, because they can have a, say, 2.5 or 1 micron filter in them, and this will filter out a lot of the undesirable things. Because if you have a small particle, that's going to be able to go deep into your lungs, and you want to keep that from happening so that it doesn't irritate your lungs or bring in a virus that you don't want. Very important these days. Do keep in mind to ask for this feature if you're staying in a city that are surrounded by lots of industry, or they just have a lot of high air pollution. Here in Dumaguete, we have a lot of dust from the roads and stuff, and so these would help filter that out. The last feature is called Auto Clean, and most of the high-end or even the mid-end AC units come with this, and it's a very useful feature. What it does is, when you activate it, it helps dry out the interior portion of your AC unit in the head, the part that's inside, so that you don't get mold or other things growing in there. You should run that, if you do have it, about once every 10 to 15 days, and that will help clean and dry out the inside of your AC unit. I hope this information's been helpful to you and kind of clears up some of the differences between non-inverter and inverter air conditioning units. Thanks again for watching. I'm glad you were here, and I appreciate it. Have a good day.